Married at First Sight Australia, episode 14 and 15. In this episode, we have two more couples tying the knot. First of all, we have Georgia and Liam. Georgia is 25 and she's a brand owner. Liam is 29 and he's a prison case officer. Again, when it came to our already married couples from this experiment, I'm not too sure whether they read the invitation. Did they get the memo? Could they read? The invite said Sunday best. Again, half of them looked like they were going to the pub. Ugh, dear. This is terrible. When it came to the groom, walking down the aisle, Liam, where were you going with those socks? It reminds me of Michael Jackson all of a sudden. Oh, God. No, darling. No. Once he got to the end of the aisle, he turned around and said, I think I'm going to shit myself. Yes, that's what he said. I think I'm going to shit myself. I think I would as well. Yeah, I get where you're coming from. When it came to Georgia, she was walked down the aisle by her mother. She did let off a loud scream at the beginning, and that seemed to put Mr. Liam at ease. She was very bubbly, very smiley. Yeah, the rapport there was a good start. He seemed to tick all her boxes, and vice versa. So again, as I mentioned, this is already a good start. These two then continued to say their vows, which was then sealed with a kiss. Fast forward to the wedding reception. We saw these two getting on well. They were having a fun time, getting to know each other. They found out they had something in common in regards to horses or ponies, and I'm sure plenty of other things. And the colour pink. Yeah, she loves her pink. That's what we've gathered. She loves pink. Everything seemed to be going well, and then you saw Liam's face, like there was something he was hiding. We later find out that he's actually bisexual. But little does she know this yet. This is going to be a topic to talk about. Is she going to be accepting of him or not? Married at First Sight love to put these twists and turns in. It can never be straightforward, can it? So we're going to have to wait and see what happens next. Actually, what we saw next was the Married at First Sight couples drawing attention to themselves, which made our new bride and groom draw attention to them. So they decided to come over to see what they were laughing about and to introduce themselves. So they soon learnt that that group was part of the experiment too. So that broke the ice there. Then on top of that, who spoke up? Miss Beck. Miss Sourpuss. That's my name for her, Miss Sourpuss. She decided to ask, Georgia, what are your non-negotiables? With Miss Beck asking that question, I knew that was staged. From first meeting somebody, nah. What are your non-negotiables? Who comes out with that? Anyway, she did answer the question by saying she would struggle with somebody that was super judgmental and closed-minded. Yeah, that was the answer. So it's like, oh, okay. Right. Let's see where we're going with this. And in answer to that same question, Liam's answer was nothing. Yep, that's what he said. Nothing. And right behind that, Miss Sourpuss again said, what happens if they don't swing your way? Is that not a non-negotiable? All of these questions sound too premeditated. Yeah, too staged for me. Dear. His answer behind that was, no, it's fine. It's fine. Then his bride, Georgia, turned around and said, are you bisexual? The table paused. Everybody looked at each other. They double take. He looked red in the face, didn't know what to say. And then he confessed, yes, I am bisexual. Georgia's face was like, oh, okay. He looked embarrassed. She looked embarrassed because she didn't know. So this is the first time she's hearing about it. He was embarrassed because he wanted the opportunity to tell her before telling everybody else. Oh dear. Married at first sight. Why would you do this to poor Liam? Put him on the spot like that. Why would you do that? Oh my goodness. Thereafter, things were very awkward between them. So that sort of put a crack in the relationship already. With that bombshell. Oh, I don't know. She says she's open. And that she's not closed-minded. Let's see whether she meant what she said. Later on, he pulled her to one side. I think they went outside. And he discussed what just happened. In short, she said it doesn't bother her. And he said, you got nothing to worry about. Yeah, very simple. Well, there's more than that, but I'm keeping it short. And they sealed it with a kiss. Fast forward to the honeymoon. These two started off in like a farmhouse, which is more his element. They were talking about farting, burping, things along those lines. Liam was saying, feel comfortable to do any of those things. Make yourself at home. She was very much saying, no, you're not going to see me do any of those things. Not her style. But at the same time, she liked that he was quite open. So that made her laugh. Yeah. So that was the start to their honeymoon. We later saw these two go on a romantic horse and wagon ride around the countryside. That did look very romantic. They both spoke separately to the camera, saying how they were enjoying their honeymoon. They're enjoying each other's company. Everything's blossoming and it's all looking very good at the moment. We're just going to have to wait and see how this progresses. Later on, you saw these two go out for a romantic meal. The honesty box came out again. Oh, this honesty box, here we go. One question that was asked was, how many sexual partners have they had? She turned around and said she's had about 5 or 6. When the question was asked to him now, she tried to guess his by saying maybe 30. He ended up turning around and saying 50 plus. Yep, 50 plus. She was shocked. She wasn't too sure what to say next. But when speaking to the camera later, she did turn around and said, it really doesn't bother me. It's more about where we go from here. It's not about his past. Yeah. I'm not too sure I believe that. But we'll see. And then when asked by Georgia in regards to how many of each, he turned around and said approximately 5 guys. He said he's very fluid. It's all about whoever he connects with and nothing else. The next day we saw these two go for a horse ride. They seemed to be enjoying the last part of their honeymoon before going back to join the rest of the couples in this experiment. So we're just going to have to wait and see how these two progress. On to our next couple. We have Jamie and Chris. Chris is a 32-year-old FIFO worker with 2 daughters. And Jamie is a 34-year-old marketing and brand manager. If I had to describe Chris, He's the big gentle giant. Very romantic, very soppy. But to look at him, you'd think, oh, no, not what I would have expected. Then when it comes to her, she normally dates high flyers that are unavailable, emotionally unavailable. She's 34, she wants kids. So at the moment, she's frozen some of her eggs because she's getting on in age, and she definitely wants children. So now she wants to look at somebody that's more down to earth. These two being matched? I'm not too sure, to be honest. Are they going to be able to meet in the middle? I'm not sure. I'm really not. She says she's very picky. She looks like hard work. She does. I'm very sceptical. I really am. Fast forward to the wedding day. I've never seen a groom so nervous. This is the first time I've seen a groom this nervous. Oh my God, the man has sweaty palms. He was just sweating all over. Oh dear. Nervous wreck he was. But he looked very groomed for the special occasion. When he was walking down that aisle, he did look like a Viking. One of the matchmakers said he looked like a Viking, and yes, I have to agree. My God, that man is tall. He looks taller than 6'2", I think he is. He looked like 6'6". Yeah, a gentle giant. While standing there waiting at the altar, he was getting even more nervous. Standing there looking very agitated, not sure what to do with himself, not sure where to look. Then you saw some of the bridal party talking about his looks, saying, oh, it's not bad looking. But then they came onto the hair. Is she going to like the hair? I'm sure that's what one of them said. That's one to talk about. Not sure about the hair. When the bride finally walked down the aisle, she was accompanied by a friend of hers. When Chris saw her, he was taken aback by her beauty. He liked her eyes, he liked her smile, and he thanked the matchmakers for bringing him the perfect match. But then when you heard her speak and was walking down the aisle, she was saying to her friend, uh-oh, hair, the hair, the hair. We knew this was going to be a problem. We already knew this was going to be a problem. Everyone was talking about the hair. All her bridal party, the men included. Oh dear, this is painful already. And when these two were face to face with each other, they tried to smile. Well, he was smiling, definitely. She was putting on a smile. So you could see the disappointment in her face. Oh dear. I don't know. This is not looking good for me. There's a lot of awkward silences as well. Trying to find things to say. This felt a bit like pulling teeth. My man was already nervous. He was already stuck for words anyway. She is a confident girl. But in this situation here, she just didn't have any words. When talking to the camera, her first impressions were not a fan of the hair, not a fan of guys with nose rings. But lastly, she did say, I did ask for a nice guy though. And he ticks that box. So we're just going to have to wait and see. Next, we saw them reciting their vows. Jamie went first. Again, as I mentioned, she's a very confident woman. But when it came to Mr. Chris, he was a nervous wreck. He started reciting, then he stopped because he was just too nervous to talk. And then he started again. He eventually got through that. Yeah, his vows were nice. On his VT, he did actually mention that he was dyslexic. So I can understand him struggling there. It was really heartfelt watching that. After reciting their vows, it was then sealed with a kiss. Fast forward to the wedding reception. Everybody was very smiley, getting on, having the usual conversations, asking the usual questions. First of all, it was about his tattoos. Started off with a tattoo on his hand or sleeve, and he said he had it all up the whole of his arm and all round his back. I don't think she was impressed with that, to be honest. She smiled it through, but I know she wasn't impressed. Even her fellow mates said the same thing. They call her Princess. She's hard to please. I'm sure he's going to find out later on in the process how much of a princess she is. The more these two were conversing, the more you found out they had very little in common. Oh, this is going to be painful. Even her fellow best friends know he is not for her. As she herself said, they are both from two different worlds. Two very different worlds. As for whether they'll be compatible long term, she just doesn't know. When it came to Chris giving his speech at the wedding reception, that actually got me tearful. It also got the bride tearful. You can hear the heartfeltness out of that. Yeah, true romantic he is. You can tell it. You can tell it just by the way he recites things. Oh dear. Let me just wipe my tears. Those two did get a little touchy-feely after that speech, and as the day went on. As she said to the camera, I did start off a bit sort of reserved, but as the day went on, I started to relax. And yeah, so she's slightly warming to him. I hope it stays that way. We'll just have to wait and see. Fast forward to the honeymoon. When waking up the next morning on their honeymoon, these two look very comfortable with each other. Well, let's put it this way, Chris looked very comfortable. So, Jamie says. She did say, he's more comfortable than I am. He may think I am, but I'm not quite there yet. I'm not used to all those tattoos, as she says, never been with anybody like him. This is going to take some getting used to. And it's all about what other things I can compromise with. I believe it was the same day we saw them walking through the vineyard. She kept trying to fix his hair, kept talking about his hair, kept saying, shall I fix your hair? It was just too much. I believe he knows his hair is an issue where she's concerned. And I think he was getting a little frustrated himself. I think he knew at that point that this was going to be a problem. When they actually reached their destination at the winery, they were confronted with the honesty box. Yes, the honesty box. The first question that was asked was whether she wanted children, and she said yes. So that was quite straightforward. But one thing I have noticed is that he hasn't mentioned his kids. No, I didn't see that at all. Anywhere within this episode. That's interesting. I don't know whether she knows he's got kids. Not sure about that. Anyway, moving on. The second question was, is he her type? And her answer was, maybe not. What you meant to say was no. That's what you should have said. You should have just said no. Because he already knew that anyway, as he said. But he's willing to give it a go because the matchmakers have paired them up for a reason. So he's willing to give it a go, and he told her to relax, for them to enjoy the whole experience and see where it leads them. And she virtually said she's willing to do that. The next question was for her to ask him, but before that even happened, she started mocking the way he was talking, saying, "In English, please." I'm thinking, hang on, how dare you? There was nothing wrong with the way he was talking. Oh, that's already a strike. That's already a red flag for me. You could see he was offended by that statement. He was actually offended by that he actually picked himself off the seat. And I think he went to the loo, I think. Yeah. Because that stung. And then when he came back from the toilet, she turned around and said, "Did you wash your hands?" Oh my God, who does that? Who does that? To a big grown-ass man, who says that? To children, I can understand you saying that, but to a big grown-ass man? Have you washed your hands? Are you serious? And he felt embarrassed by that, I could see that. He said, "Yes, I did wash my hands with water." And she said, What happened to the soap?" "Oh, you dirty grot." I'm sure that's what she said. Not too sure what grot is. Yeah, Australian term, haven't got a clue. But that's what she said. "You dirty grot." She actually asked to smell his hands. She actually asked to smell his hands. Is he 5? Is he 5? The last thing I remember her saying was, "That's so unattractive." Oh, the poor guy. The poor guy. The poor guy. The more I see these two together, the more they remind me of Miss Sourpuss, Beck, and Jake. Yep, that's what I see. Beck and Jake. With all that being said, we never did get to hear the question, so that was the end of that. The next day, you saw these two go on a helicopter ride. And I know Chris is not in a good headspace at the moment because he's thinking, my wife doesn't like my appearance. She doesn't like the way I speak. And already we're on a downer with this. And then when you saw her in the helicopter, she was telling him to wipe the maca out of his eye. Oh, this is getting too much. It's getting too much. And we're only on day 2, I think. Ugh, painful. When they finally arrived at their destination, the two of them sat down and had a talk. He wanted to talk about how she's making him feel. He mentioned that they're both from 2 different worlds. He gets it. He says, "This is me. I'm not going to change me. This is what you're going to get at the end of the experiment if we're still together." Let's put it that way. This is me. I'm not here to change you. This is how I speak. I'm not the most intelligent person, but this is me. She tried to say, "If I'm offending you, I'm sorry about that. But that's the way I normally speak to my friends. But I could see that you're quite sensitive, so I need to look at the way I talk." That's virtually what she said. Oh, I'm seeing a Becca here. I am. But she doesn't have the sour face. But there's similarities with those two. And then we've got Jake and Chris that are much more humble guys. Very sensitive. Yeah. I'm seeing a spitting image of those two couples. So after getting that all off his chest, they've agreed to move forward. So we're going to have to wait and see where this takes us. So on that note, I'm going to leave it here. If you like what you heard, please like, comment and subscribe. Till next time.